This is the Louie Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Louie? Yeah.
Overtime! So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. The Oakland Raiders taking on the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football in Miami. Raiders get the win, 27-24, in a game that both teams had ample opportunities to do more damage than they did. I think my biggest takeaway from watching this game is that both of these two teams drive me nuts with their inconsistency. And I've said it a number of times, the Dolphins, the amount of talent that they have on their team and the lack of production that they get out of that talent, it's staggering. It's frustrating. I feel the pain of Adam Gase. I get joy out of watching Adam Gase on the sidelines because he wears his emotions on his sleeves. And I told you, Adam Gase is a G. The G in Gase stands for gangster, G, okay? He says what he feels and he says what he means. And he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He tells his players exactly how he feels. He tells the media like it is. And he doesn't hold any punches, doesn't mix any words. You know exactly how he feels after a game. I'm pretty sure there'll be some interesting quotables after this game. Even though his team didn't perform that poorly like last week against the Ravens, they still squandered numerous opportunities in this game. And it's the reason they're going to miss the postseason. It's the reason they're going to probably end up 7-9, 8-8 at best this season, is because they simply don't take advantage of opportunities. We'll talk more about the Dolphins as we go along and we get to their side of things. Definitely going to start with the winners and the Raiders in this breakdown, and they're just as frustrating as the Dolphins are. I mean, their run game is inconsistent. Their ability to just catch the damn football is inconsistent. Their defense is inconsistent, and offensively, they're inconsistent. So the Raiders are very frustrating in their situation. They're 4-5, and they could easily be 5-4, 6-3, but the inconsistencies with which they play have hindered their progression this season. And you wonder if either one of these two teams will be able to get it on the right track before it's too late. We've talked so many times this year about it's still early, still a lot of football to be played, still a lot of time left. Well, you keep saying that, and the weeks keep going by, and next thing you know, next week we're in double-digit territory. We're in week 10. You're not on the other side of the season where you can say, well, we still got a lot of football to be played, half of the season left. No, that's not the case. Everybody's played 8 games. After Monday, every team in the league will have played at least 8 games. Okay, there will not be a single team with less than 8 games to their name. So what that tells you is that now we're at the half point of the season. There are no excuses to be made about continuity or figuring things out. Yeah, you get new players, you get some players back from injury, some guys may have missed some weeks, things of that nature. Next man up is of the utmost importance, and at this point in the season, you are who you are. I think we have identified the teams that are serious about trying to make a run at the postseason, and I think we've looked at the teams and we say, okay, when it's all said and done, they're probably going to fall short. We're starting to compile a list of those teams. That list was very vague and unfulfilled. I thought there were a lot of teams that we still were trying to figure out about 2 weeks ago when I made 3 weeks ago when I made the statement. There's about 24 teams in the league. And I said over the next couple of weeks, that number is going to dwindle down to 20, down to 16. And I think we're right around that 18 to 16 mark now where, again, only 12 teams get to make it, 6 from each conference. And I think we're right around that 18 to 16 mark for the amount of teams in the league that look like legitimate playoff teams, like teams that are going to contend to make the postseason and have a shot. And I look at both of these teams and the inconsistency with which both of these two teams play with on a week-to-week basis. I don't think either one of these teams will be in the postseason when it's all said and done. But for the Raiders, this is a nice win on the road. I mean, they haven't had many of these types of victories on the road this season where they can say, hey, we went and got one against a team that was just as hungry as we were on the road on the East Coast. And now we get to go home. And they've got a number of home games coming their way, do the Raiders. If I'm not mistaken, it's a bye week first. And you come off the bye, and it's New England. And I believe that game is over in Mexico. And then after that, you get 2 more home games. And then you hit the road again. So if you're the Raiders, you got to take advantage of some of this home cooking. Let's say you don't beat the Patriots over in Mexico. That's fine. You drop to 4-6. You got 2 games at home after that against bad football teams in the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants. You have to, you must, all caps, M-U-S-T, must, all caps, bold, win both of those games at home. It'll get you back to 6-6, and all of a sudden, you look up now that the end of your schedule is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. 3 out of your final 4 games are on the road against tough opponents. But at least at 6-6, with 4 games left, staring down the gun barrel, you can say, we got a shot. Because at 10-6, if you were to run the table, win 6 straight to finish up your season, you're going to have a shot at making the postseason. You're probably going to get in. So we'll see what happens. A lot of football left to be played. I just said that, you know, you're running out of time for saying that, but it's still a lot of football left to be played. And this is a big one. To go down 3-6, you're done if you were the Raiders. This was an important game, an important victory, one that you had to have. You went out and got it. So that was impressive. Of course, I'm your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me here on the Louie T Network on Sunday Night Football overtime. Raiders with the big victory over the Miami Dolphins, 27-24. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game. I want you to help us do that by simply hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already done so to become a member of the Louie T Network. I've got a number of social media platforms that will keep you in tune to what's going on this channel so that you can, hey, I don't mind if you treat my live streams like Halloween candy, man. Every Halloween candy that's in the bucket, not good. I don't want any damn dots. I don't want any Smarties, okay? So you being in tune to my social media platforms, they're right there. All right, Twitter, Instagram, there's Facebook, there's YouTube. Turn on those notifications. Those will allow you to know, okay, I don't really care about Eagles, Broncos. I do want to hear about Cowboys, Chiefs. Oh, I really do want to see what the hell happened in New York with the Rams and the Giants. So you can pick and choose which streams you want to be a part of and which ones you want to sit out. That's what having those social media platforms at your fingertips and turning on those notifications will allow you to do. Pick and choose like Halloween candy, which live streams you want to be a part of. I get it. There's a lot of them. And so some of them you're like, man, I'm going to sit this one out. I get it. I want you to be able to make those decisions consciously by having those notifications turned on. So make sure you are following me on Twitter, which is going to probably be your best form of notification, along with YouTube turning those notifications on as well. And you'll know when I'm going live. But in any event, you can find the links to those social media platforms down below in the discussion and description, tab below this video and on every single video. And also you'll find ways to donate to this channel as well. There's PayPal and there's also Patreon. I just put a video out about Patreon and what the perks that you will receive from potentially donating via Patreon. And I have different tiers, and so I'll be linking that video up to all the videos that I put forth moving forward. Again, those links to donate to the channel are down below in the description as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that too. But let's talk about this game. Let's talk about the Raiders first. They get it done in this game, 27-24. Get to 4-5 on the season. Big win. They had to have it. Made some plays in this game, especially down the stretch. I thought the defense, and let's start there because we kill this Raiders defense just about every single week. They're not a good unit. They're not what you would call an upper tier, upper half of the league defensive unit. But I thought they made some plays in this game, got off the field in some critical situations. First and foremost, before I even get into either one of these teams, this was a flag fest. I thought some of the calls were questionable at best. They threw, sometimes as an official, you use discretion with your flag. You may see something that looks like a little bit of a hold, and you're like, you gotta kind of use it with a little bit of discretion because sometimes a flag in a situation, it doesn't impact the play, and you see it because there are penalties on every single play. Don't kid yourself. There's a penalty taking place on every play, and if a referee wanted to throw the flag on every single play, he or she could. But that's not how the game is supposed to work. And I just felt like the rhythm of this game, the pace of this game was crushed from the jump with all of the penalties. There were well over 20 penalties accepted combined with these two teams. And I thought that the Raiders really benefited from penalties on the Dolphins. The Dolphins had some huge plays called back via penalty tonight. And so the defense was able to take advantage of that. And that's not their fault. That's not their fault that the Dolphins committed penalties. It's not their fault that the officials were flag happy tonight. You take advantage of those opportunities, and the Raiders did that defensively. They didn't get to Cutler as much as they would have liked. They only had one sack, and that one sack came when the Dolphins lost their right tackle late in the game, and that's when Khalil Mack was able to get pressure and force Cutler to step up into the rush of Bruce Irvin and one of your defensive linemen. But in any event, I look at this defense for the Raiders, and I thought this was a quality performance. A lot of big runs called back, a lot of big plays called back by the officials for the Dolphins. But I look at your secondary, and even though Cutler's numbers don't bear out that there were no explosive plays, because you look at his numbers, and he threw for over 300 yards. He only incompleted about 6 or 7 passes. So you look at his numbers, you're like, whoa, Cutler carved him up. And he started the game off like 16-16, but everything was short. And we'll talk about that when we get to the Dolphins side of things. You kept everything in front of you until the end of the game when you knew that you needed to keep everything in front of you and you really were playing soft and giving up out of bounds and giving up chunk plays. Everything was in front of you. And for a Raiders team that has given up big plays this season, that has given up scores to teams, this was refreshing to see. I mean, last week you gave up some big plays to the Buffalo Bills, especially on the ground late. But in any event, it was good to see you keep everything in front of you. I thought it was a horrendous tackling night by the Raiders. I thought your tackling on this night was absolutely horrid. If you want to teach your team how not to tackle, put on this tape for the Raiders, because guys were bouncing off of defenders. Nobody was wrapping up. Everybody was looking for a kill shot. And the Dolphins running backs, they were bouncing off of Raider defenders like pinball. And they got to be better than that. But I love the fact that they made the Dolphins work for everything that they got tonight. And I thought the most critical juncture of this game, and every time the Raiders defensively were put in some tough spots, field position-wise, they rose to the occasion. Again, helped out and aided by penalties. I don't care about that. They got it done. After the onside kick, remember, Dolphins scored a touchdown. Missed the extra point, but in the ensuing kickoff, onside kick, they recover. They're already in Raiders territory or damn near close to it after the recovery of the onside kick. Raiders defensively get a stop, force a punt. That is huge. I thought the biggest sequence for this Raiders defense was midway through the third, or excuse me, early portion of the fourth. And Ndamukong Suh makes the play of the game for me. Diving through the air like a 300-pound Superman, knocking the football out of Derek Carr's hands, forcing a fumble. Marshall Newhouse tries to pick it up. Big man with football, never a good idea. unless it's close to the end zone. And they're always susceptible to fumbling because they don't know how to carry a football. And, of course, he does cough it up. It's recovered by the Dolphins. They've got great field position. You're up 4. It's a critical juncture in this game. You don't need to give up anything. You don't even need to give up a first down because they've already got great field position. If you can find a way to force a punt, it'll at least keep the field position at minimum marginal for you. If you give up a first down and then force the punt, you're going to be backed up inside your own 10-yard line, possibly your own 5. And what the defense did there was they forced them backwards. And then they punted the football, which allowed the Raiders to have a little bit of space to breathe. And then you turn around after that, and the Raiders defensively or offensively have like 3 drops on the next possession and have to punt, which was, we'll talk about the drops when we get to the offense. But the offense doesn't help out the defense. They got to punt from deep in their own territory. And they get the football right around midfield again. And what do the Raiders defensively do? They get a stop again. Wasted field position by the Dolphins. Great defense. That was the sequence of the night for me because after that, the Raiders then did move the football, was able to get down the field, and ultimately get the touchdown to put this game away. And that, to me, is where this game was won. The defense of the Raiders in some short field situations, in some tough field position situations, they were able to come on the field and get stops. And that's the value of not giving up big plays, making the opposition earn it. By doing that, you force them to have to execute time and time again. And a lot of those plays that they ran earlier in the game, no success later on in the game. And some long down and distance situations, and you don't allow them to convert big-time stops for that Raiders defense, even though I thought it was a horrendous tackling night for the Raiders defensively. When they had to get stops, they got them in this game. And that's what allowed the offense, who struggled for the vast majority of the second half, to finally figure it out. They had one drive in the third quarter to start the half off and one drive at the end of the game to pretty much put the game out of reach. But other than that, in between there, the Raiders struggled offensively, and they needed the defense to come up huge, and that they did. All game long, really. I mean, the Dolphins only had 9 points at halftime. The Dolphins only scored 17 in the second half. And when I say only, literally 8 of those points came with garbage time, essentially, with the Raiders up 2 scores and just basically saying, hey, as long as you don't score quickly, which they actually did because they got out of bounds on just about every play. But they were just saying, as long as you don't score quickly, we're good. And so they really only gave up 7 points in the second half, did the Raiders, but defensively. But in any event, I thought the defense was the difference in the game for the Raiders on this evening. You go to their offense. Their offense frustrates me to no end because that was supposed to be the calling card of this team. That was supposed to be what allowed this team to be not only competitive in the AFC West division this year, but that was supposed to be what was going to keep them among the best in the AFC conference. It was this high-octane, potent offense that now with Marshawn Lynch in the backfield was supposed to be able to hurt you in multiple ways, including the ground game. And we just haven't seen a consistent diet of success from this Raiders offense this year. Week 1 against the Titans, we thought, okay, Marshawn Lynch is going to make a difference. He looked good in that game. It was one of his better contests of the season. And it was a nice start to his Raiders career. And we thought, okay, sky's the limit from here. They go on the road. They beat Tennessee. It's a quality win against a team that we all think is going to be good this year. Lynch looks good in that game. Okay, here come the Raiders. They blow out the Jets the following week. They score over 40 points. Okay, here come the Raiders. And since then, they've been as inconsistent as you can get on the offensive side of the football, with drops, with no run game at times, with the passing game being inconsistent and a ton of drops. The offensive line has had their share of struggles. Derek Carr's missed some time. You haven't had guys step up like they did last year. And drops are contagious. I've told you this before. Amari Cooper is the main culprit, but when you see other guys dropping the football, it's like yawning. You see somebody else yawning, you're like, don't start that. Oh, shit, here it comes. Damn. And it's contagious. All of a sudden, everybody's yawning. Like, goddamn, man, don't do that around me. That's how drops are in the NFL. Don't do that around me, because now all of a sudden, Michael Crabtree is dropping the football. When does Crab drop the football? Well, Crabs will drop it when he looks around and Coop's dropping the ball. And Coop looks around and he's like, well, maybe I can make a play. And then next thing you know, you look over and Seth Roberts is dropping the damn ball. And he's like, well, shit. Who's catching the ball? Jared Cook caught the ball tonight. Who knew? He's been a habitual offender at dropping the rock this year too. And he was the one tonight that really hurt the Dolphins, especially early in this game. He was one of the few guys that could hold on to the rock. And so this offense just really frustrates me, because there were opportunities in this game to really put the pressure on the Dolphins, to at least get some first downs, move the football out of your own territory, punt with much better field position, and make the Dolphins earn it from way deep in their own territory. They want a touchdown, make them go 87 yards, starting at their own 13 for that touchdown, instead of letting them start at their own 33 or their own 37 or their own 41, because you got a number of drops on a possession. Seth Roberts with a drop. Krabs with a third down drop. Coop with a drop on second down. Really? But I thought Derek Carr was outstanding in this game. Despite the late interception, he gave his guys opportunities to make plays. The throw to Holton for the touchdown, that was a rainbow. It seemed like that football was in the air forever. And Holton went and got it. And like I said, that's the Raiders offense that we've come accustomed to seeing. The offense with Derek Carr taking risks, throwing the football up, giving his guys a chance. That pass interference that led to the touchdown for Lynch, that was just Carr throwing it up, saying, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. That's what this Raiders offense was about last year. Carr giving receivers a chance to win one-on-one matchups, throwing it up for grabs, getting pass interference calls, and moving the football down the field, and not being such a dink and dunk underneath offense. I don't think they run it enough, even though I thought the dedication to the run game was a lot stronger tonight than it's been in past weeks. I don't think they run the football enough. I think they can run it better, because I look at that offensive line, I said, they're supposed to be moving guys against their will. That offensive line is tailor-made to run the football. You look at Hudson, Osemele, Penn. Those guys are supposed to be maulers in the run game, creating space. And I don't think they run it enough. I would run that football to the left side of that offensive line repeatedly, bashing in the brains of the opposition on the other side of the line of scrimmage, because that offensive line is massive, and they have guys who excel running the football, run blocking. And I think they need to make more of a dedication to that, to keep some of the pressure off of Carr, because when teams blitz, he panics. I've said it before. I'll continue to say that. That's his one weakness, is he will panic. He will short arm the football. He will throw it into tight spaces. He will force something that's not there. You can get him to make a mistake when you bring pressure. He does not like pressure at all. He gets happy feet. He gets antsy, and he will throw off of his back foot and make a mistake when pressure is applied. And you saw that at times tonight. They talked about during the telecast, and I've been saying that since he came out of Fresno, is that he will panic under duress. And so to take some of that pressure off, to stop teams from blitzing, run the football. I'd like to see the screen game in Oakland a little bit more. I haven't been impressed with Todd Downing this year. I'm not going to lie to you. He's a first-year offensive coordinator, so I'm not going to be one to jump on his case and kill him. You need time as a coordinator in this league, as a play caller, to get into a rhythm. But I haven't seen him from start to finish have an exceptional game as a play caller. I want to see more from Todd Downing. I thought the best night that he had as a play caller was against Kansas City. And even in that game, they didn't run it a ton. You know, no Lynch after he got ejected, and they were able to throw it well in that game. But I thought it was a well-called ball game. But I haven't seen that enough from him. I didn't think this was his best game. But again, when guys aren't catching the football, hard to call the next play. When guys aren't making plays. When you should have already converted on 2nd and 10 for a first down, but because of a drop, it's 3rd and 10. Or because of a drop on 1st and 10, that it should have been 2nd and 3, it's now 2nd and 10. It changes your play call. And so, yeah, I understand the dynamics of guys not making plays, altering your play calling, but I wasn't all that impressed with Todd Downing. But I will say there was more of a commitment to the ground game, and I like that. And I want to see more of that, because I think this Raiders offense will be better served. This isn't the Raiders from last year where you could just drop back Derek Carr 40 times and be successful. You need to have a little bit more balance offensively for this Raiders team to be successful, I believe. And you saw a little semblance of that, but it was still more heavily geared towards Carr throwing the football than them using the ground game as a way to matriculate the ball down the field. But nonetheless, despite the drops, despite some mistakes and miscues offensively, opportunities wasted, they got it done. 27-24, get the win on the road. That was impressive by the Raiders. You go to the Dolphins, and I want to start on the offensive side of the football. Penalties were one of the biggest issues in this game for them. I can't tell you how many big plays they had called back due to penalties in this game. It's the undisciplined nature of this football team just making a number of mistakes to really hamper their opportunity to win this game. I was disappointed in the lack of attempts down the field. You got Sean Smith on the field for the Raiders, who's been notorious for giving up big plays in the passing game. You've got Dexter McDonald on the other side of the football field. Those are the two corners, okay? There's no Garyon Conley in this game. There's no David Amerson. You're going up against Dexter McDonald and Sean Smith, and everything was dink and dunk city. Granted, Jay Cutler coming off of a couple of broken ribs. You don't want him back there too deep in the pocket against Mack and against Irvin. I get it. I understand that you don't want him in harm's way, under duress. You don't want to put the offensive line in a tough bind. So you want the quick game to be a huge factor. You want the quick game to be a big part of your offense. You want the running game to complement the quick game. You want the football to come out of Cutler's hands quick so that he's not put at risk. I understand. But at some point, you got Dexter McDonald and Sean Smith on the outsides. At some point, you got your big target, big-time wide receiver back in this game in Devontae Parker. You have to take shots. You got to take shots down the field. Dexter McDonald, Sean Smith, those are your starting corners. Opposite of Jarvis Landry and opposite of Kenny Stills and opposite of Devontae Parker. You have to take shots. And you failed to do that until the game was basically over. Makes no sense to me. I had no problem with the quick game early to get Jay Cutler and this offense into a rhythm. You want to establish the run. I get all of that. And I thought there were some good runs by the backs. I told you they're going to be just fine at running back. A lot of people are like, I can't believe they traded Jay Ajayi for a 4th-round pick. That was stupid, man. Yeah. But they didn't like the attitude, the aura that he had in the locker room. They didn't like his work ethic. I said, they still got talented backs. I said, don't sleep on Damian Wilson. I've always liked Damian Wilson. You saw him tonight. He was balling. I like Kenyon Drake. He's got a lot of talent and a lot of speed. His biggest problem at Alabama, same problem he's having here, is he's a guy that will fumble, and he's a guy that you question, can he stay healthy, and how productive is he with more snaps? Because at Alabama, he shared the load. So how productive is he if you ask him to go from a guy that's touching it 7 times a game to a guy that's touching it 15 to 20 times a game? I don't know. The only way to find out is to actually give him the touches and see. Well, he fumbled tonight, so it makes you a little wary. But he's a talented guy. A lot of speed to burn. Saw the big run tonight. He's got talent. The bottom line is, they didn't take advantage of a Raiders defense that was suspect, that had guys out there at the cornerback positions that you should be able to take advantage of. They let them get away with Dexter McDonald and Sean Smith on the outsides by checking it down, by everything being underneath, by trying to stay ahead of the down and distances and the sticks, by trying to just play stick-to-stick football. You allowed the Raiders to keep everything in front of them. The Raiders have been exposed this year when teams have been able to go down the field. We watched them on Thursday night against the Chiefs, and Tyreek Hill running right by their corners. We watched the Redskins run right by their corners. We watched the Bills have success against their corners, running the football, doing everything, getting explosive plays. We've seen them give up explosive plays this year. And you had none until that final drive of the game. Really. All the ones you had before then were called back. You did have the run with Kenyon Drake. But other than that, it was a lot of underneath. A lot of underneath. And that's frustrating. But the most frustrating part, because I love the fact that you got Cutler into a rhythm and that he was highly accurate tonight. He looked more like the Jay Cutler in Gase's system in Chicago in this game than he has at any point this season. So that was actually pretty good because that's what they were in Chicago. A lot of underneath, a lot of quick game, a lot of the ball out of Cutler's hands quickly into the hands of your playmakers and see what they can do out in space. I didn't have a problem with that from a standpoint of getting Jay into a rhythm. Then I wanted to see you take shots off of it. But my biggest gripe with the offense was you had great field position for the vast majority of the second half, especially that fourth quarter. And you had opportunities at 20-16. Your defense gave you every opportunity to win this game, to take the lead, to put the pressure on the Raiders. And you refused to take advantage. Whether it's penalties, mistakes. Cutler had a wide open Kenny Stills on a 3rd and 7 and one hops him. You refused to take advantage of opportunities in the fourth quarter with great field position. That Ndamukong Suh play, come on, man. That's a superstar play. That's a difference-making play. And you waste that field position? Then the defense goes out, gets you another stop. Forces the Raiders to punt from their own end zone. You get great field position again. And you go backwards again. You didn't want to win this game. Because the defense, and this has been the story all season for the most part, the defense has given you opportunities. If not for this defense, you'd be 1-7, 2-6 right now. Straight up. Straight up. Because this offense has been horrible all year long. The offense wasn't horrible tonight. They just didn't do enough. They didn't make the plays when they had to be made. They couldn't get out of their own way with penalties. They made too many mistakes. Kenyon Drake with the fumble. Made too many mistakes. Cutler with the short hop on a 3rd and 7 to a wide open Kenny Stills. You made too many mistakes. Lack of opportunity, shot opportunities down the field against Dexter McDonald and Sean Smith. You didn't want to win. You played not to lose offensively. That's frustrating. Especially when your head coach is an offensive-minded head coach. That's frustrating to me. Defensively, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at your performance. Yep, you gave up some plays. Yep, the Raiders dropped a ton of passes to help you out. Yep, the Raiders had a ton of penalties themselves, and that took them out of some drives. Yep, I understand all of that is true. But you made plays. You made enough plays to give this offense a chance tonight. The Suh play, I just can't stress how big of a play that was. That's extraordinary football, folks. And you want to know why he's paid the money he's paid? A lot of people don't see the impact that he has on the game because you look at his numbers. Oh, he's only got 3.5 sacks. Why are they paying him so much money? He's a bully. He's a dirty football player. I take Suh on my team 10 times out of 10 and twice more on Sundays. You can sit on your high horse with all your morals and he's a dirty player. I take Suh on my team right now. Gimme. Let me have him. Because he's capable of the play that you saw tonight. He's capable of standing up a double team and still making a tackle. You don't see what this dude does on a week in, week out basis to help his team. But he's doing it. And that play there put your team in a position to win, and the offense refused to take advantage. That one play set off a chain of events that allowed your offense to have 2 cracks at the football, 2 separate possessions from close to midfield. And they refused to take advantage. Hell, even the special teams chipped in with an onside kick that was successful, and the offense refused to take advantage. I refuse to put the onus or the blame on this Dolphins defense. They did what they could do. That Raiders offense is good, and the Dolphins defense held them down for much of the night. And when they needed stops, they got the stops. They ran out of gas on that final drive with the PI and the big play too. They tried to disguise the coverage. They got caught. Rashad Jones didn't get back fast enough. And voila, wide open comes a Raiders receiver. And just like that, then you get a PI the next play, and boom, Lynch is in. And you gave your team a chance defensively. I'm not mad at the defense. It is what it is. This offense they've been the Achilles heel of this team, and they're going to continue to be the Achilles heel of this team if they don't score more points. If they don't score more points, this is going to be the outcome. And those 8 points at the end of the game, they were cute, and they made it competitive to the point where an onside kick was necessary, and they had to recover, did the Raiders. But, I mean, this was a 27-16 game, essentially, because the offense refused to take advantage of some opportunities. So, I'm not killing the defense. I just refused to do it. They gave the offense opportunities, and the offense refused to take advantage. Raiders get the win 27-24. That's a big one for them. Big win. Heading into your bye week with a little bit of momentum. Now you're at 4-5. The key, and I say this all the time, get back to 500. I don't want to talk to you about making a run for the postseason, or I don't want to talk to you about making a run at the division, because the Chiefs are right there at 6-3. It's not like they're running away and hiding with this thing. You still got another matchup with them, and you've already beaten them once. So it's not like they're running away and hiding with this thing. But you got to get back to 500 first. We can't even talk. We can't even have a decent conversation, an educated conversation, a reasonable, rational conversation about you doing anything until you get to 500. Then we can talk. You know the rules to the game. Play. And this was a big one. A huge step in that direction to get back to 500. You needed this one. You went and got this one. For the Dolphins, it's another wasted opportunity. An opportunity for you to win a game at home, stay above 500, stay in the divisional race, and give you the Bills lose on Thursday night to the Jets. So now they're 5-3. Here's an opportunity for you to climb to 5-3 and stay a game behind the Patriots. You wanted no parts of it. And that's frustrating as you drop to 4-4 on the season. Let's get to some comments out here before we get out of here. All right. Sean Mack says, I'm officially a champion on Patreon. I got your back all the way to the top, bro. Hashtag Lab Room Fam. I appreciate that, man. And we'll definitely start churning out that content for you, Sean Mack. Indeed. Rodney Ray says, I'm actually surprised a lot of Raiders fans are actually mad over this win. They want the Raiders to tank this season and draft only defense next year, mainly more DBs. That's asinine. I mean, are the Raiders going to win the Super Bowl this year? No, absolutely not. It's not like last year where they had all the confidence in the world in their team. But I hate when fans throw around the word tanking. It's such a stupid word, and the intent behind it is even worse than the word itself. The meaning behind it, what you're asking players who work hard from Monday to Saturday to come out and lose on Sunday. Are you? No. Reese says, Lou, when are you doing the Bucks game? I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I haven't watched the game, obviously, so it'll be sometime tomorrow. Your boss says, Lou, how do you feel about Obi Melifonwu, the Raiders rookie that they drafted this year out of UConn? I saw him tonight. He's stiff. He's everything that I thought he is. He's huge, number one. He's 6'4", 225. He's huge. He's a little stiff in the hips, but he's physical, and he can run. And he had some good plays in coverage tonight, but he's a little grabby at the stem of the route. He got away with one. I thought he was a little grabby on a comeback, but I like him. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. I want to see more of him, though. That's the thing. You know, I want to see him get on the field more. I want to see him in space, see how he transitions, because that was one of his big problems at UConn, was transitioning, turning, flipping the hips, running, opening up, because he's an athlete. He's a freak, but he's so big. A lot of times, big guys have problems with change and transition from back pedal to sprint, or stopping, planting, and driving on the football. But I thought he did some good things tonight. Ricky L says, I still think the Dolphins play better with Tannehill. I don't think anybody's disputing that right now. BK Soldier 2010 says, did you see the fight between Ramsey and AJ? If so, your thoughts? Yeah, I tweeted out about it. So, yeah, I definitely saw it. Thanks for the fantasy advice. I'm going to win by 60. Well, I mean, it's not like Chris Ivory had a huge day or anything, but I knew he was going to have a better day. And in his defense, Tevin Coleman did score a touchdown, but I don't think he had big numbers. But anytime I can help, man, I'm here for you. SoFlo Sports says, I knew that the game was over when the Fins were trailing late because Khalil Mack is the best closer in the game. And he didn't really do much, but he did have that one play when your right tackle went down with the injury. And as soon as Jawan James went down, and they didn't even help him. I'm like, damn, Julius Juice, at least chip on your way out, bro. Don't leave the new guy in there to fend for himself against Khalil Mack. He's licking his chops. He went right by him. It's a problem. Robert Contreras says the game winner was the quick 3 at the end of the first half with 28 seconds. That wasn't the game winner, but it's nice to get points before the half. But the backbreaker was the opportunities missed by the Dolphins in this game. And then the Raiders getting an opportunity, finally not pinned up deep against their own end zone. They finally get a little bit of space, and what do? They take full advantage. They move the football down the field. They get the big play to Seth Roberts. They get the PI at the 3, and boom, Lynch is in the end zone. That's where the game was won, right there. Their defense making 2 huge stops with the Dolphins having great field position, and then the offense finally taking advantage and getting that touchdown. That was the series of events where the Raiders won this football game. Sean Mack says, I was thinking the same damn thing. Cutler has a cannon of an arm. Let those receivers go and get the deep ball. They just refuse to throw the football down the field. I just don't get it. I didn't get it at all. I understand the initial script, which was, hey, let's get Jay into a rhythm. Let's get the football out of his hands. He's coming off of a couple of broken ribs. We don't want him back there antsy. We want him to get comfortable into the rhythm of the game. I get that. But then I thought they were going to cut it loose, and they never did in this game. The Soundwave 92 says, it's amazing to me how physically gifted Cutler and Gase, and yet Adam Gase never seems to take advantage of that cannon of an arm often enough. For the life of me, I can't explain why. I don't know if Adam Gase isn't confident in the offensive line's ability to protect him long enough to allow routes to develop down the field. I don't know if he doesn't trust his receivers to win down the field. You got Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker. Stills can run, and Parker can go up and get the deep ball. I don't get it. SoFlo Sports says, I'm pissed. Granted, we had opportunities late, but the refs dicked us with the Rashad Jones unnecessary roughness and the Howard pass interference. Horrible calls. The Howard pass interference, I didn't think the ball was necessarily the best, but it was pass interference. The unnecessary Rashad Jones, that was garbage. That was terrible, but that wasn't where the game was lost. It helped the Raiders get into position to strike. It took a 26 or 36-yard gain and turned it into whatever it was because you tackle on 15. But the Dolphins squandered opportunities. I'm not going to allow the officials to be the reason. I thought the officials threw a ton of flags. I didn't think this was a well-officiated game. But that being said, their flags weren't the end-all, be-all. They didn't determine the outcome of this game. There were opportunities in this game for plays to be made by the Miami Dolphins. They had field position numerous times, and they refused to take advantage. That's where this game was lost. Reed says, do you think Josh McDaniels deserves another chance to be a head coach? That fiasco in Denver was a long time ago, and he was really young. He'll get another opportunity. I think he's waiting for the right opportunity to come along. I think he's doing it the right way. I remember once upon a time, Sean Payton was an assistant under Bill Parcells in Dallas, and he was ready to take the Oakland job when the Raiders were a horrible franchise, and Al Davis was still ruling it with an iron fist. And Bill Parcells said, no, you're not taking that job. Don't take that job. A better job will come available. You're a good offensive coordinator. Someone else will come calling. Just wait. And when that right opportunity comes, you take it and you don't look back. He waited. New Orleans finally came up and he won a Super Bowl. So I think McDaniels, he's had opportunities. There have been situations that have come up. Now, I think that some people are turned off by him, sort of like ex-Raiders coach, ex-Tennessee Vols coach. Gosh, his name was right on the tip of my tongue. He was in Alabama under Nick Saban. I think he's coaching with FAU now. God, I can see his face. He's an ass. And he's pompous. And he's arrogant. And he rubs people the wrong way. I can't think of his name. Why can't I think of it? And it literally was on the tip of my tongue as I was about to say it. And in any event, I think people see Josh McDaniels as somewhat of a coach like the coach that I can't think of his name right now. I'm going to check down here. Maybe one of y'all tell me who it is. No, nobody said anything. Anyway, he'll get another opportunity. And I think it's a mixture of him waiting for an opportunity, the right one, and him being an ass. To the point where Lane Kiffin, that's his damn name. Lane Kiffin is who I was talking about. And Lane Kiffin rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I think Josh McDaniels does the same thing. But nonetheless, he'll get an opportunity eventually. Captain Spartan 04 says, how does Carl Joseph look? Haven't heard much from him this season, even last season too. He's been solid. He hasn't been great. You know, his rookie season got off to a slow start because of the injuries. He's done some good things. They like him a lot in Oakland. Hasn't made as many plays as they would have hoped at this point, but they think that the future is bright for him, and he's been playing some solid football. SoFlo Sports says, did you see the Vontae Parker one-hand catch? Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that quarter or two before that. They didn't give him an opportunity to do that. He's got some of the best hops and ball skills in the entire league, and they refused to give him an opportunity to win 50-50 balls down the field. Soundwave92 says, since we are halfway through the season, where do you put teams in the top 5 power ranking now? I'm not doing a power ranking because if you want a power ranking from me, that's exclusive content. I can't be giving away exclusive content. If you haven't watched my Patreon video, you have to watch the Patreon video. If you want a power ranking from me, you'll see how you can get it. Beyond the Benches says, the season was over when we went 17 down. I'm assuming he was talking about the game was over when they went 17 down. He said, I'm going to try to enjoy it. That was an entertaining game. I like what I saw from Williams and Drake. I did too. That's a really good point. He's saying the season was over when Tannehill went down, when 17 went down. I got you. I got you. I understand what you're saying. I didn't believe that to be the case. I thought Cutler could come in and do a quality enough job with all the talent that was on his football team. But I was wrong. Tannehill's a much bigger part of this offense than a lot of people gave him credit for, and we're seeing that right now. But I too liked what I saw from Williams and Drake. But then again, I'm not surprised because I told you I thought that those two could handle the load. They made a ton of guys miss. They were tough. You know, outside of the fumble by Drake, I thought both of those guys were outstanding tonight. So I agree with you. Darts Hiller 1995 says, Jameis Winston is not a franchise QB. And what the heck is he doing pregame with his speech? Man, looked like he was on mad drugs. Needed to be said, LOL. I actually like the licking of the fingers and the W and I'm hungry. And you know, the funny part about that was his teammates didn't even know how to react. And I tweeted that out on Twitter earlier. His teammates didn't even know how to react to that whole pregame speech. You know how normally when it's a great pregame speech, everybody's all amped. Like, yeah! He said, I want a W. I don't know about y'all, but I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Let's eat this W. And everybody looked around and everybody was like, yeah. And then he turned it over to Quan, and I think Quan probably really got him hyped because he was talking some of the same ish that you normally hear during pregame. Not that, see, Jameis is on the next level. They weren't ready for the next level. And that's usually how you are received when you're the first. Jameis has got a unique style of pregame. I like his pregame pep talk. It's too bad that they don't ever work. But they're good. I give them credit. I like that. Sean Mack says, Lane Kiffin, bro, thanks for being like 20 minutes late. When I needed Lane Kiffin, you didn't deliver for me, man. I'm messing with you. Y'all, now everybody want to tell me Lane Kiffin after I was over here struggling trying to get the name and y'all didn't help me out. Anyway. Now everybody want to tell me Lane Kiffin. Y'all get out of here, man. Y'all make me sick. Not really, but gosh, I was struggling too. I was trying my hardest. Y'all want to come Lane Kiffin 10 minutes later. Anyway, Dark Seal in 1995 says, seems like every year people say Tampa Bay and Tennessee will be in the playoffs, and every year they fail and they never take the next step. Their QBs are holding them back. I don't agree with that wholeheartedly. Winston is dealing with injuries right now. He's not healthy. So I'm not going to beat him up. But it's not just Winston. This defense, which we thought was going to be good, not good. Let me reiterate this. I never thought Tampa Bay was going to be good. I didn't think they were taking that step this year. So that was everybody else. I told you I believed in Tennessee. Tennessee is 5-3. Tennessee, along with Jacksonville, currently leading the AFC South Division. Mariota, he's playing solid football. Is he playing great? No. But he himself has been dealing with injuries. That's been his issue in his career thus far in his young NFL career. Injuries. When he's healthy, he's dynamic. When he's not, he's very limited. So I think that both of those quarterbacks, when it's all said and done, will be leaders of good football teams in their career. And we'll be talking about those two at the top of that 2014 NFL draft, or was it 2015? Whatever it was. We'll be talking about those guys for years to come. John Perez says, is the Jags' defeat of the Bengals the last straw for Marvin Lewis? Well, Marvin was done after this year anyway. He's not getting fired during the season, if that's what you're insinuating. He's not going anywhere now. He was going to be gone after the season. They weren't going to make it. They started 0-3. Once they started the season 0-3, they were done. Marvin Lewis was done. It was just a matter of, kind of just stringing the season out, letting things play out the way that they play out, and then you figure out who's going to be. Are they going to promote from within? Are they going to make their defensive coordinator their head coach? That's a really Cincinnati Bengals thing to do. Or are they going to go outside the box, go outside the organization, find the right guy, and bring him in-house? If I had to put my money on it, I'd say that they hire from within. That's what the Cincinnati Bengals do, but we'll see. Reese says, McDaniels got too big for his britches in Denver. He got a big head. He flew off the handle a lot. He won't make that same mistake again. You would hope he learned from his first experience. Just because you fail the first time as an NFL head coach doesn't mean you're condemned and never to get another opportunity. We've seen guys fail multiple times and still be hired as a retread. He'll get an opportunity. Like you said, he was very young. He was very ambitious in Denver the first time around. He ran Brandon Marshall out of town. He ran Jay Cutler out of town. He thought that he was the system. He thought my system can work with anybody, any players, any quarterback. I'll be fine. And he found out the hard way. That's not the way it works. Players make this league, not coaches all the time. I mean, we love Bill Belichick. Is Bill Belichick without Tom Brady? Is Tom Brady without Bill Belichick? I mean, is Scottie Pippen without Michael Jordan? Is Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen? Again, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. But I can tell you this much. Bill Belichick wouldn't have been Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. He's not Bill Belichick with Matt Cassell at quarterback, with Billy Ho at quarterback, with Ryan Mallett at quarterback, with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. So, and I just went through all the list of all the quarterbacks that have come through New England since Tom Brady has been there. Tom Brady's the constant. So, this league is predicated off of players. Coaches make in-game adjustments. They get their players to play. They put them in the best positions to play and win and execute and succeed. Those are the best coaches in the league that take their players that are talented, put them in the best positions to succeed and flourish. Those are the guys that hang around the longest. Those are the guys that win most often in this league. Reese says, it baffles me how Marvin Lewis is still Cincy's head coach. He must have some dirt on somebody. No, it's not that. They just don't fire a lot of guys. They're cheap in Cincinnati. They don't fire a lot of guys. Mike Brown has been notoriously cheap. He's been notoriously one for holding on to coaches. It's just what they do. It's a culture out there. They don't like to spend a lot of money. They promote from within. They've got a system. It works for them. So that's why he's still there. But we're seeing. We'll see what happens. Sean Mack says, we're on your time. Your feed is running late, bro. LOL. Whatever, okay? When I was looking for the assistance, I ran the floor, okay? I got the rebound. I gave the outlet pass. I ran the floor. I was the trailing guy. All you had to do was dish me the assist, and I was going to put it in the basket. And I got no assist for running the floor. I ran the floor in vain. I had to go get an offensive rebound to go get mine. Shame on y'all. Y'all hawks. Share the wealth. Reese says Lane Kiffin is an asswipe, Lou. You're not lying. I think a lot of people view asswipe is such a funny word. I think a lot of people view Josh McDaniels in that same light. Like he's a asswipe is funny. And when people say that guy's a piece of shit. That's also something. Or the guy's a turd or a piece of shit. I'm like, that guy's a little piece of shit. Those are funny terms to me. And I think Josh McDaniels is looked upon at times. I think he comes off as arrogant, as a guy that is the smartest in the room. And that turns people off. I think that if he had a better personality, he would have gotten another job by now. But he'll get one eventually, as I stated before. Dark Seal 1995 says the Broncos need to fire Joseph. The team flat out quit today, and they look like they've quit at points this season, and that's on the coach. You can't have a QB carousel. They don't have a quarterback, man. It's too early to be talking fire Vance Joseph. We weren't saying fire Vance Joseph when they started out the season 2-1 and 3-1. They were just fine then, right? When they destroyed the Cowboys 50-something to 40-something to 12 or 13 or whatever the hell it was. We weren't saying fire Vance Joseph then, were we? Give the man some time. He needs a quarterback. It's hard to win in this league without a QB. John Perez says, AJ Green doesn't have a history of fighting. When I saw him pummeling Jalen Ramsey, that shows either he's having a bad game because Ramsey was getting his head or his team is bad. No, a lot of times with these receivers, especially the mild-mannered ones, remember when Andre Johnson got into it with Cortland Finnegan? Normally, it's just the guy that's across from you. He gets into your head, and he's an ass a lot of times. Jalen Ramsey is an ass, straight up and down, every day of the week. Jalen Ramsey, he's confident. No, he's cocky. There's no line. He's not bordering. He's not teetering. He's cocky as hell, and he does extra shit. He's like a little nuisance, a little pest. That push at the end of the play was so unnecessary, but that's the type of shit Jalen Ramsey does. He talks trash. He puts his hands on you when it's unnecessary, and AJ had enough. And maybe AJ wasn't having the greatest game, and maybe AJ's having a frustrating season, but all it takes is for a guy to push you over the edge, and then you lose it. We saw it with Andre Johnson with Cortland Finnegan. It's not Andre Johnson. He's not taking off his helmet and getting into a fight, but Cortland Finnegan, who we know is an agitator, had been for his entire career, pushed him over the edge. Ramsey pushed AJ over the edge, and AJ had to show him what was up. I loved every second of it. The only thing that I did not like, AJ, bruh, these are your tools, bruh. Don't break your hand on the man's helmet. AJ was going for the knockout, sort of like my man, the Bronze Bomber, did last night. AJ was looking for the knockout. One hit a quitter, man. He was treating Jalen Ramsey like Bermain Sternovic. Hey, I'm about to blaze you, son. He was looking for the kill shot. I was impressed, man. AJ put him in the $1 million dream first, put him to sleep, and then when he tried to get up, he was ready to rock him. Razor Ramon style. But he just missed. I'm glad he missed because he was trying to break his hand. I was like, come on, AJ, don't do that, bruh. Don't do it. Dark Sealer 1995 says, Mike Brown will fire Lewis, then make himself the head coach because he doesn't want to pay for one unless they take gift cards to Denny's. That sounds good, but he'll actually hire a head coach. It'll just probably be within the organization. It'll be probably their defensive coordinator. Captain Spartan 04 says, who's going to hire Marvin as a defensive coordinator when he gets fired? I got Miami. And I don't think Marvin Lewis has been a head coach for such a long time. He's like Rex Ryan. He's not going for a defensive coordinator position. He's been a head coach for over a decade in this league. You think he's really going back to defensive coordinator? You go from telling somebody what to do, telling everybody what to do for over a decade to now having somebody else tell you. His ego is too big at this point. I can't see it. He'll either take a year off and wait for guys to get fired, and then his name will be hot, because that's what happens to retread coaches that have had success in this league, or he'll take a TV job. But he's not going to be a coordinator. Sean Mack says, we did too. You're reading comments from like 5 minutes ago, bro. LOL. I went down all the way to the bottom because I know I'm reading comments from like 5-10 minutes ago. I went all the way down to the bottom, and not a single one of you said Lane Kiffin. When I needed you, when I needed the dime, when I needed that cute bounce pass in transition, I didn't get it. You were looking for yours. Dark Seal in 1995 says, Josh McDaniels better kiss Tom the GOAT's butt cheeks. Without Tom, he is nothing. He better kiss each one too, Lou. LOL. He'll be fine without Tom Brady. He'll be fine without him. Reese says, here's a preview of the Bucs games for you, Lou. A piece of shit. A stinky one. I know. I saw the score. Trust me, I don't have a lot of expectations for you guys going into that game, but we will see. Sean Mack says, remember 2 years ago I was screaming for my Browns to take Ramsey? LOL. He's a damn good football player. Don't get it twisted. He's a good football player. Really good. Sean Mack says, Wilder put his ass to sleep. That was a complete mismatch from the start, bro. I didn't even want to see that again. I've seen it before. I didn't need to see it again. I mean, he stood in front of the dude like, all right, bro, what you going to do? Oh, nothing? All right, I'm going to just knock you out. I mean, really? It's crazy. Can we just get him and Joshua to fight already? Please? Can we just get him and AJ? Even though I think AJ is the more skilled fighter, it's going to be wildly entertaining. Can we just go ahead and get that, please? So we can just move on with our lives. Sean Mack says, Porter broke his hand. And how long before Wilder hurts himself again? That's why I want to hurry up and get the fight before Wilder falls off another motorcycle and tries to act like he hurt himself gardening like he said the last time. You don't take off half of your skin and break your arm gardening in the yard, falling off a ladder or whatever the nonsense he tried to lie to. He was on a motorcycle. Not telling me nothing. He's going to hurt himself again, whether he breaks his hand or he dislocates something. That's why we need this fight as soon as possible. Make it happen so that we minimize the opportunity for him to hurt himself again. Reese says, those douchebags in Cincy could have had Jay Gruden or Mike Zimmer or even Hugh Jackson. Hugh would have done a good job in Cincinnati, I'm convinced. I think he went to Cleveland and he doesn't have a quarterback, and it's really messed with his whole mental psyche. If he would have stayed in Cincinnati, he would have had a guy that he was comfortable with in the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, and I think they would have been better off. But they let three, not one, not two, but three head coaches go, waiting on something to happen with Marvin Lewis that never came to fruition. SoFlo Sports says, guess what? I just sat Jared Cook, 12.6 points. Jay Ajayi, 13.7 points. For Jason Witten, 0.5 points. And Jonathan Stewart, negative 1.9 points. Not a solid day for me. And your team just lost. So, no, it was not a good day for you at all. John Perez says the Giants got flat out embarrassed by the Rams, 51-17. I live in New Jersey. A lot of Giants fans are unhappy. Their team sucks this year. They're going to fire their coach. And he may get fired in season. He may be the one guy that's not safe to make it throughout the entire season. Sean Mack says, Wilder is a trip and a half, bro. I agree. AJ versus Wilder would be lit. I'm just waiting on it. That's the one fight we want to see in the heavyweight division. Make it happen. You want to bring American heavyweight fights back? That's the fight we need to see. FBG Tony says, do you think the Raiders can hop back in the AFC playoff race, or are they still screwed? They got to get back to 500 first before we can start discussing them. They're not even out of their own divisional race. If they want to get back in that, they can, but they got to get back to 500 first. Captain Spartan 04 says, that 2015 draft is weird so far looking back, especially for my Steelers. No star player yet, just a bunch of good players. Todd Gurley, probably the best player from the draft. And that's always fun to look back at the draft, years later. He says, my Browns will hire McAdoo. Laughing my ass off. Think Dirk Cutter is gone? No, I don't. Not yet, but maybe next year. So that's going to do it for Sunday Night Football overtime. Raiders get a much-needed win, 27-24 over the Dolphins. Dolphins drop to 4-4 in the season. Raiders get closer to 500 at 4-5. After the great start to the season, Raiders dropped 4 straight games. And so now it's an uphill climb. They've inched closer back to 500 at 4-5 with this win. They go on a bye. They come off the bye. They've got a massive one against the Patriots over in Mexico City. If they can find a way to get that one, get back to 500, things could get pretty interesting for the Raiders, as the next 2 games after that would be at home versus the Broncos and the Giants. 2 teams that you would expect them to find a way to beat, especially if the Broncos continue to struggle the way they have with their quarterbacking situation. That's a long ways down the road, though. You're talking 3 weeks to a month to when they play those games. They've got to focus on the here and now. The Patriots are the big team on the agenda. They got to find a way to get that one in 2 weeks. Coming off of a bye, you got 2 weeks to prepare for the New England Patriots. That's going to be a bona fide home game over in Mexico City. You got to take advantage of the environment. Got to take advantage of having off an extra week to prepare and try to put your best foot forward and sneak the Patriots. You can do that, get back to 500. We could have ourselves an interesting AFC West race down the stretch. But they got to get back to 500 first. For the Dolphins, it is what it is. They lack the killer instinct offensively. Defensively, they've done some good things this year, but the offense is the problem. They're one of the worst offenses in the league, and it continues to be a problem that plagues them. And unless something changes offensively and the light bulb comes on and they start scoring points, it's going to end up being a really disappointing season for the Dolphins that started with a Tannehill injury that ended his season. So we'll see what happens with the Dolphins, but they weren't able to get it done at home on Sunday Night Football as they fall to the Oakland Raiders 27-24 and fall to 4-4 on the season. It's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Sunday Night Football overtime. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it. Oh, here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Lockdown coverage all day today. All right, so keep your eyes peeled. We'll break down all the games. A lot of ass whoopings. So it's going to be a pretty easy day for me. Number of ass whoopings took place in week number 9. Not a lot of close ball games. Redskins, Seahawks, that was compelling football. A hell of a game. Probably the best game of the day. And so a lot of ass whoopings handed out. So I'll have to comb through those, sort through the wreckage, and see what happened in those games. But in any event, we'll be chopping it up all day tomorrow. So I'll see you then, or all day today. In any event, enjoy the rest of your night. I will enjoy the rest of mine. We'll reconvene tomorrow for lockdown coverage. We'll break them all down, and that will be a segue to Monday Night Football, Lions and Packers from Lambeau Field. Until then, I am your man Louie T, signing off. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.